G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to MagzTV. Once again, as the sun sets on the year of 2015, it is time for us to do that which, well, I really only started last year, but I have received so many requests to do again that I couldn't say no. Yes, as the fireworks begin to fly, it's time for MagzTV's top 10 favourite War Thunder aircraft of 2015. Now, as per last year, I have set myself a couple of rules with this series. For starters, the Boomerangs and the Wirraway are out. They would always receive a spot in the top 10. I really love both those planes, but it would be a bit biasy for me to actually have them in. So they're out. They get an honourable mention, but they won't appear in the top 10. Second thing, this top 10 counts from 10 to 1, but the aircraft are in no particular order, except maybe the number 1 aircraft. There are 500 planes or more in War Thunder, and I had to pick 10 out of them. Don't ask me to sequence them from best to worst. I couldn't do it. And last of all, this is my 10 personal favourite aircraft of War Thunder in 2015. This is a subjective list to me and me alone. If you don't agree with the list, that's cool. Feel free to put in your own top 10 in the comment section for this video. I'd be really interested in finding out what your 10 personal favourite aircraft were. These are mine. So, with the formalities out of the way, let's get this show on the road, starting at number 10. My number 10 spot may come as a little bit of a surprise, as it is a brand new aircraft to War Thunder. The F3F2, battle rating 1.7 Era 1 American biplane, the first American biplane added to War Thunder. This little thing is armed with a single 12.7mm M2 Browning machine gun with 200 rounds of ammunition and a single 7.62mm Browning machine gun with 500 rounds of ammunition. This is a pretty small ammunition load, but we are only talking about a 1.7 battle rating aircraft. However, that's not entirely true. While the aircraft itself is only battle rating 1.7 and theoretically can face reserve aircraft, I have never been in a battle in this plane that wasn't 2.7 yet, and it has been fantastic fun. This thing is so manoeuvrable, you can just drop it onto the tail of 109s. It is surprisingly fast for a biplane. It won't keep up with a 109 for an extended period of time, but if you get them at low energy, you will be able to sit on their tail and there is nothing they can do about it. While the ammunition load on the guns is very small, you can put in a lot of very accurate firepower as both the guns are mounted on the fuselage, and the turn time and manoeuvrability of this aircraft is exceptional, even by biplane standards. This thing is basically the United States answer to the Russian Chaika. Coming in the 9th position, we have the Era 3 Battle Rating 4 British Spitfire F Mark 9. No Spitfires made it into my top 10 list last year, and a lot of people found that really surprising, as I really did like the Spitfires. I just didn't like flying them enough for them to make my top 10. This year, however, they've made a comeback. All the low-end Spitfires have really caught my attention this year, and I've been having a great time with them. This is probably the highest level Spitfire that I've truly loved flying. Everything above this I haven't enjoyed as much. Two 20mm Hispano Mark IIs with 240 rounds of ammunition between them, 4 7.7 Browning machine guns with 1400 rounds in between them, give this plane substantial firepower for its battle rating. Its light airframe and powerful engine allow it extremely high levels of acceleration as well as a very good top speed, while also allowing it great manoeuvrability and extremely good energy retention. Its 3,700 feet a minute climb rate is not as good as its big brother the LF Mark 9, but at battle rating 4 it doesn't need to be. This aircraft spends most of its time fighting P-51s, P-47s on alternate history maps, aircraft like the Yak-3, and G-Series 109s for the most part. Overall, I feel it's the right plane in the right spot with the right power to make for good, competitive fights. This plane has given me a lot of really good battles over the last 12 months, and I'm really hoping it continues to do so in the coming year. So in the number 8 spot, we have the P-51D-20 NA Mustang. This is an Era 4 Premium, battle rating 4.7 for the US tree, and this is, well, honestly, it's probably my favourite US Premium. I was, however, hesitant to put it on the list this year. Towards the end of the year, the P-51Ds got a down tier from 5.0 to 4.7. In my opinion, the P-51 was already an excellent aircraft at 5.0, and the down tier to 4.7 was unnecessary, and has in a way turned it into a little bit of a clubbing aircraft. But this was the top 10 aircraft that I've enjoyed flying the most in 2015, and I was enjoying flying the Mustang before the down tier, and after the down tier it has still been a fun plane. Thankfully, maximum down tiers on this aircraft down to 3.7 battles seem to be relatively rare. This aircraft still spends most of its time fighting at around about 5.3, that's where the meta seems to keep putting it. But, as I said, unnecessary down tier was unnecessary. This was a good plane. Its only real problem was the way people were flying it. Turn fighting with enemy aircraft, like you see in this little clip here, does look very cinematic and very entertaining to watch, and it does look incredible when you actually get guns on target and take somebody out, but when you're actually using the plane in practice, it's likely just going to get you killed. Fly this plane correctly as a high-speed boom and zoom aircraft, keeping its speed up at all times, and this plane was highly competitive at 5.0. Unfortunately, until pilots start flying the plane correctly, it is going to continue to get down-tiered. Still, it's kept me entertained for the last 12 months. It has been a blast to fly, and it takes a well-earned 8 in my top 10. Another recently added aircraft that's managed to slide its way into my top 10 of the year listing just by being so goddamn amazing. This is the Messerschmitt Bf 109 E4. The E4 is Era 2, battle rating 2.7. Is armed with two 20mm MGFFM cannons with 120 rounds of ammunition between the two, and two 7.92mm MG17 machine guns with 2,000 rounds of ammunition between the two guns. This was the one 109 that for the longest time I felt was missing from the game. The E4 was the plane that led Germany's charge into the Battle of Britain. The primary 109 variant available at the time to the Luftwaffe, I felt this was a plane that really needed to be in the game. So when it finally arrived, I was ecstatic when it met every single one of my expectations. This thing has a high rate of climb, it's fast, it dives great, it's extremely maneuverable for a 109. The MGFFM cannons do incredible amounts of damage. The 2,000 rounds in the secondary guns give it surprisingly good endurance, able to stay in the fight for longer than you would expect and continue killing long after its very limited amount of cannon ammunition has been dispensed. My only problem with this plane is it's probably a touch low on the battle ratings. This is the equivalent to the British Spitfire 2B. This should be a battle rating 3.0 aircraft, not a 2.7. Still, fantastic aircraft, fantastic fun to fly, and I can't wait to fly more of it next year. Now come on, you knew this was going to show up in the tree eventually. This is the Era 5 battle rating 7.0 Horton 229 V3. And what a barrel of laughs this thing is to fly. This is basically a jet-powered Zero, or it's the easiest way to describe it. This is the most maneuverable jet in the game. This aircraft is maneuverable even by prop fighter standards. It is incredible to fly. I've loved this plane since it was first added to the game, when it had an absolutely atrocious and horrific flight model that was incredibly hard to use. Its flight model has been increased and improved since then. Now it is one of the most lethal low-ranking aircraft in the game. The primary armament is two 30mm machine cannon 103s with 340 rounds of ammunition. This is one of the best guns in the game. However, it does have one small issue, and that is incredibly low rate of fire in comparison to some of the other weapons. Having said that, it is a 30mm shell and it has incredibly high velocity, so you only need to hit the target once and it's game over. My only real complaint with this aircraft is, well, it's actually not a complaint with this aircraft. I think the Horton 229 is perfectly tiered at battle rating 7. I think it's perfectly fine exactly where it is. The problem with this aircraft is the planes around it. The Horton 229 should be fighting things like the MiG-9, the Meteor 3 series, the P-80s, the F-84 Thunderjets, possibly even the F-80Cs on a fairly regular basis. Unfortunately, the way the current battle rating is working in Era 5, this plane almost exclusively fights props. It makes my top 10 this year, but unless the Era 5 battle ratings are sorted out, it probably won't next year. Sliding out of the dark of night to take the number 5 slot again for the second year running, the MiG-15 Biz. Error 5 Battle Rating 9.0, this is, or at least was until the last patch, the top jet fighter of the Russian tree. The recent edition of the MiG-17 has bumped it back a spot, however with the different handling characteristics of the MiG-17, honestly while it is a faster aircraft, I'm still not convinced that it's a better aircraft. And the MiG-17 is still yet to provide me with a single match that is anywhere near as fun as the matches that I've had flying the MiG-15 Biz. It makes the top 10 for exactly the same reasons that it made the top 10 last year. It's fast, it has an excellent climb rate, those jackhammer cannons are amazing, although I still need to use vertical targeting in order to be able to get all of the guns on target reliably. Now the MiG-15 Biz has received some flight model updates over the last 12 months. I think they may have gone too far with them. The aircraft was, I felt, fairly competitive last year on its old flight model. I did feel it was not quite performing as well as it maybe should be, so some tweaks were probably a good thing. However, the flight model advancements the aircraft has had this year have put the aircraft well beyond what I think it should be capable of doing. That said, the plane has been a hell of a lot of fun this year. I've really enjoyed flying it, and I'm really looking forward to taking on the Sabres over Korea over the coming year. Taking out the number 4 spot, we have the HE-112B2U2. The HE-112s are incredibly underestimated aircraft down at Battle Rating 1. This particular variant is an ultra rare premium that was only available for a very limited period of time. Error 1, Battle Rating 2.3, this aircraft is armed with two 20mm MGFF cannons with 120 rounds apiece, and two 7.92mm MG17 machine guns with 1,000 rounds apiece. That gives this variant exactly the same armaments as the BF-109E3. The B2U2 variant is slightly heavier than the other 112s that are available in the standard tree, or available as premiums, however it does feature a slightly more powerful engine to make up for it. As a result, what you get here is an aircraft that almost has the manoeuvring capability of a Spitfire when flown correctly, but with the armaments of a 109. Although the aircraft's top speed is lacking a little, but it makes up for it with exceptionally good energy retention. This aircraft can operate in vertical manoeuvres extremely well. A climb rate of 3,117 feet a minute is usually enough to get this plane up to altitude with its enemies, so it's never fighting with an altitude disadvantage, although it is most certainly not the fastest climbing aircraft of its tier. This was the plane that gave me my first ace in a day at the start of 2015, and it's never disappointed me ever since. Even in situations where I've been swarmed by multiple enemy fighters or where my team has collapsed and left me the last one alive, before this plane goes down it'll always take 2 to 3 kills before it bows out of the fight. The guns are highly accurate with little to no spray, and the aircraft suffers almost no overheating problems. No matter how long or how hard you try and fly this thing, it seems to never overheat. Although with no WEP available, it is rather hard to push it beyond its maximum capabilities. Many a yak pilot have fallen victim to the HE-112 over the last 12 months, and I don't expect that's going to stop anytime soon. Securing a spot in the top 3 for 2015, the J2M3 Raiden. This Japanese Error 4 battle rating 5.3 fighter was a new addition this year, and it has been amazing the entire time it's been in the game. The J2M3 was the first edition of the J2M series of fighters back at the start of the year, and it caused quite a stir. Previous to the introduction of the J2M, the majority of the Japanese tree had been focused on turn fighting, or at least had the capability of competing in turn combat. Whether it be the Zeros, the Ki-44, the Ki-61, or the Ki-84, all of these aircraft were capable of competing in turn combat, at least to some extent. Then enters the J2M3 Raiden. This aircraft has more in common with a German Focke-Wulf than it does with anything in the Japanese tree. An excellent rate of climb will get it to altitude extremely quickly. It has both a high top speed and a high terminal dive speed, and being armed with two 20mm Type 99 Mark I cannons with 380 rounds of ammunition and two 20mm Type 99 Mark II cannons with 420 rounds of ammunition gives it incredible stopping power when it gets to the target. Initially, the stat card for the J2M3 caused a bit of confusion, as it lists the aircraft as having a 19-second turn time, and makes you think it would be capable in turning combat. The reality is it's not. What it does mean, however, is the aircraft has incredible control authority, even in high-speed dives and high-speed maneuvers. It allows it to get its nose on target at angles that other aircraft would struggle with. Compression of the control surfaces is only a minor issue even in the fastest of dives as a result of this excellent control authority, which means what you have here in the long run is one of the best boom and zoom fighters in Era 4 in a nation that is almost exclusively known for its turn fighting capability. I love this plane, I really do. I get a smile on my face every single time I bring it out. And taking out the number 2 spot in this top 10, we have the Focke-Wulf 190A5. This is an Era 3 battle rating 4.7 German fighter. And once again, we're looking at an aircraft that's designed and built around its boom and zoom capability. This is one of the best planes in the mid-tiers for this kind of combat. This is the machine you want to be in if you want to go fast and hit from above. The climb rate on the A5 is not particularly impressive, however, its maximum top speed as well as its terminal dive speed and a battle rating 4.7 aircraft are amongst the highest in the game. As is its energy retention. This is an aircraft that once it's got altitude and it's able to start diving on targets, it will almost always maintain that maximum altitude, dropping very little over time and consecutive attacks. Twin MG 151s with 500 rounds of ammunition, twin MG FFMs with 180 rounds of ammunition, and twin 7.92mm MG 17s with 1,800 rounds of ammunition means this thing has the endurance to keep the fire on for an entire fight without needing to go back to base to rearm. In short, this is one of the most heavily armed and dangerous boom and zoom aircraft in Era 3. It's fantastic fun to fly, and if you haven't unlocked it already, I thoroughly recommend you do. And finally we make our way to number 1, and absolutely nothing has changed on last year. Last year this plane took out my number 1 spot as the most fun I had had with my pants on for the entire year, and absolutely nothing has changed. This is the A6M2 Mod 11. Era 2, battle rating 3.3, armed with two 20mm Type 99 Mark 1 cannons with 120 rounds of ammunition, and two 7.7mm Type 97 machine guns with 1,360 rounds of ammunition. In the right hands, this is one of the most powerful aircraft in Era 2. The Mod 11 varies from the standard A6M2 as it is a land-based aircraft. The Mod 11 is not designed to operate off carriers. This means a couple of things. Firstly, on all the Pacific maps that has start at carrier start points, the Mod 11 gets an air spawn. The second thing about the Mod 11 is as it's not designed for carriers, it doesn't have any of the arrestor gear, it doesn't have any of the carrier hooks or anything else within the tail section of the aircraft. That makes the aircraft slightly lighter. As a result, it is a slightly more nimble plane, making it slightly sharper in the turn than the standard A6M and also slightly quicker to change direction. While not quite as fast as equivalent fighters available in the same battle rating, the aircraft makes up for it with incredible acceleration due to its incredibly light weight, as well as having an excellent initial dive speed, although its terminal dive is not fantastic. However, the true key to this plane's combat capabilities is its maneuverability. This plane can dodge anything. With a skilled pilot at the hands of the A6M2 Mod 11, you are virtually impossible to shoot down. Being relatively well known within the War Thunder community, I regularly have to fight multiple aircraft simultaneously. I call it Chase a YouTuber, and it can be quite frustrating, unless you're in the Mod 11. In the Mod 11, I love it when multiple enemies come at me at once, because it saves me the effort of having to chase them down. It doesn't matter how many they are, you drag them all to the deck and force them into a turn fight that they have no hope of winning. The Mod 11 was fantastic at this in 2014, and absolutely nothing has changed the entire length of 2015. This is still the most fun that I've had in War Thunder all year. The one single thing that baffles me is exactly the same thing that had me scratching my head last year. Why the hell are these things not more common? A full team of A6M2 Mod 11s with skilled pilots is an absolute nightmare for any nation that would be forced to face them. And I look forward to bringing the terror that is the A6M2 Mod 11 to the skies of the Pacific all through 2016. Anyways, ladies and gents, that is my top 10 favourite aircraft for 2015 come to a close. Please leave a comment in the comment section of this video telling me what your top 10 for the year are. I hope you all have a great New Year's celebration, and please try and keep it safe. And as always, click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.